better with Burns. You buy better with Burns. You buy better.
The Burns Agency knows your insurance needs can change with almost every season. The snowblowers get tucked away, and the motorcycles, boats, and jet skis come out to play. Give yourself a minute. Stop. Think about what new or changing exposures are happening to you. Then call the Burns Agency. Over the phone, in person, or online, we're here for all your policy needs. Or better yet, give us a chance to earn your business with our top-notch customer service, strong coverage options, and unbeatable pricing. The Burns Agency, proudly serving Eastern Connecticut since 1932.
Better. Better with Burns. Much better. So much better with Burns. The right insurance at the right price. You buy better with Burns. You buy better with Burns. You buy better.
Hey, I'm Jess, the tire queen from Advanced Automotive on Route 138 in Griswold. Springtime is the best time for making sure your air conditioning is working to its full potential. Springtime is also a great time for a tune-up, so your car is running as economical as possible. Those gas prices are nuts. Spring is also the time to get your wheels aligned. Who would know better than me, the tire queen? Come see me at Advanced Automotive on Route 138 in Griswold. I'm Jess, the tire queen.
To some, a baby's babbling doesn't mean much, but it does. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Learn more at autismspeaks.org. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Your community radio.
Live from Main Street.
Don't change anything. I love your show just the way it is.
Mike Minarski and Paul Lash in the morning. And 80s all day and night. Your community radio.
SNSN.
And good morning, everybody. As you can see, Paul Lash is not here, or it's a much younger version of Paul.
Better looking.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. Look at you all buttered because I said that. Yeah, Paul is on assignment today. His back hurt.
All right.
Yeah, he hurt his back. I don't know what he did, but
not a very fun assignment.
No. Yeah, he was aware of the assignment. How's that thing goes? What's that thing on TikTok now? I was aware of the assignment. Oh, never mind. I'm back on. So, yeah, he hurt his back, so he's not going to be in today. We hope he feels better. He let me know at about 4 a.m. 3 a.m. something like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, joining us this morning is an old friend of the show we haven't seen in a while, Ryan Hargraves. What's up, Ryan?
Good morning.
Good morning. So it's been a while since you've been here.
At least a year.
Yeah. Why? Because I know you work. I mean, what do you?
Yeah, work gets in the way.
You work in training, right?
Yes.
What do you train for a living, or can you not say?
Ish. I work for a defense contractor.
Oh, okay.
And train individuals how to safely perform
their duties. Well, if that wasn't as general-ish, that could be almost anything right now. Okay, so it's been a while.
Yes,
it's been a while. But
yes,
we didn't ask you to come in for that. We asked you to come in because you have a business.
I do,
which has gone to not just that, but well, I'll let you talk about it. So
okay.
Tell us about how and what EAGLE Eye LLC is and how it came to be.
So in 2015 or so, I bought my first drone, started playing around with that, and I had a history with photography over the years, and I'd pick up a digital camera and put it back down, and kind of went through that cycle a bunch of times.
Was it like you were just looking for a side hustle, and then all of a sudden, boom?
I really wasn't. I was playing with the camera, and getting into the drones kind of got me back going in the camera side of things. And then I was talking with a friend, and we decided, as talking through it, we figured, like, you know what, there's a way to make some money with this. People would pay for aerial photography. So I went down that road of more or less the aerial photography side. In late 2016, August of 2016, the regulations changed that allowed for drone use in commercial business. Prior to that, you actually had to hold a real commercial pilot's license. So the guys that are flying your 747s and whatnot, Commercially, you'd have to essentially hire one of them. They'd have to apply for a waiver to basically use a drone in commercial use, because there wasn't an regulatory avenue to use the drones commercially until late 2016.
So it wasn't just, it was the FAA really who were kind of like, well, we're not even ready for this yet almost.
They weren't.
Okay.
Yep. In late 2016, they opened up a regulatory avenue that allowed for an individual to become a certified pilot for a drone for commercial purposes. So with that, my business Eagle Eye LLC was born, and I got into the side hustle of real estate photography.
Side hustle. I'm sorry I use that word, but
anyway,
I think we all have a side hustle, of something. So
hey, the best part is I enjoy it.
Yeah.
So it's not work if you go to work every day and enjoy what you do.
Right. Like I picked up I got a little side hustle now. I love it. Yep. I love it.
What are you doing now?
I have an OnlyFans account. No. No, I just do DJing on social media.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's fun. And it makes money too. So
that's the other good part about it.
Well, I mean, the money that I get goes to, like, I have a fund set up for my grandson. So
okay.
So anyway, all right, it's not about me. It's about you. So let's go ahead and continue on about Eagle Eye LLC and the FAA going, oh crap, this is happening and we're not set up.
Basically, yeah. So they weren't set up for the boom of drone use commercially. Late 2016, they fixed that and they added an avenue for an individual to become certified. I did that in late 2016. And that essentially was the birth of my business, Eagle Eye LLC, right. And started working with trying to get the name out there with local realtors. And I have a handful of clients now that keep me busy enough. Again, this is a side hustle for me, so I'm not looking to be doing this every waking moment of the day. I still got to juggle this with personal life and
your regular job. But
do
you think it'll get to the point sometime maybe that'll overtake, or are you just looking for that balance?
I'm just looking for that balance.
Okay.
If I wanted to, I'm sure I could get to that point. But then I gotta think the benefits I have at the job I have now. I gotta think insurance. I gotta think retirement. I gotta think all that stuff, and it would have to. Yeah,
makes sense.
It would be really tough to make that move and go away from that. So,
yeah. See, me, the guy who owns this place doesn't give me benefits.
No,
He sucks.
Damn.
Let me tell you, he doesn't do anything for me at all.
You gotta have a discussion with that guy. He's got to do better.
I don't even want to talk to him. I don't even see him.
You don't get along with him, huh?
Nah, screw him. Jackass. So now people are buying drones. So you kind of got in on the ground floor.
Yes.
So what did you have to do, well, first of all, the FAA didn't really have anything in sight or, set in stone. How did you find out of the rules and regulations and what you had to do to get to that point?
So on the recreational side, they had rules and regulations that covered the recreational side of flying. So that's your hobbyist people.
So what is the recreational side? What can people do on the recreational side? And do they have to get some sort of certification or anything?
There's no real certification, but there is something called the trust test. And of course, I didn't define that acronym. But essentially, trust is your basic information for flying a drone. Essentially, the FAA wants to make sure you know the rules of the road of the air.
Sure.
Yielding to manned aircraft, basically what you can and can't do or shouldn't do with the drone. That is a requirement prior to flying the drone. You can get information on that through the FAA's website, or even just Google FAA Trust. There's a handful of different companies that are able to provide that. It's a simple, probably about an hour-long online training. You take a test at the end to verify that you understand the information, and then from there, they'll give you a little certificate. And legally, for a recreational drone user today, you're legally required to carry that, and any law enforcement officer can ask you for that certificate, and that can possibly use an enforcement action down the road.
All right. So now let's say somebody, buys a drone for
Yep.
recreational use, and they go on FAA trust,
Yep.
get
Absolutely.
the certificate. But now they want to go another step further. What's the next step? From and what can you do? I mean, well, look, let me double back. As far as getting the recreational license, what does it allow you to do?
So to fly recreationally as a hobbyist, right off the bat, you have to be flying recreationally. So the purpose of your flight needs to be for your own enjoyment. I'm doing this because I want to have fun. Yep. If Mike asked me to take some pictures of the studio here from 200 feet and this, that, and the other, or if you have any other intent of that flight, it's now falling outside of a recreational flight, and you would have to follow all the commercial regs, and part of that is having the pilot certificate. So we'll talk about that later. But right off the bat, you have to be recreational intent. So we'll check that box, and we'll say we're
who's
flying
to say
recreational.
what you're doing? Let's say you're doing something that may not be recreational, but somebody comes in and says, and you tell them it's just recreational. So there's a gray area there.
What kind of complicates it is down the road, say something does happen on that flight and they get in the investigatory side of things, that could complicate the matter. So we're going to assume that everything they're doing right now is for their own personal enjoyment. Next, you want to make sure that that drone is registered with the FAA. That can be done real quick online. It costs $5.
That's with the recreational
side.
Okay,
yep.
Right.
As long as that drone weighs more than 250 grams, I think it's 0.55 pounds, which most of the drones in the consumer world fall into the decent ones.
Right.
Your Walmart or Sharper Image.
Probably not.
Probably not.
Yeah.
But if it's heavier than 0.55 pounds or 250 grams, then you have to apply for that registration number. Again, quick online form you fill out, you pay $5.
And I'm thinking any drone worth $1 will even have that information right in the instruction manual about what the weight is and even where to go to do it. Yeah.
A lot of your major manufacturer, DJI, the first time you activate it, it's going to ask you a number of questions. You're going to have to check off the box that, yes, I'm doing this. Yes, I'm doing that. Yes, I understand if I do it for commercial purposes, I need to have a license. So they're going to hit you with different avenues of getting that information, but really it falls down to the individual doing it, where they need to do the homework prior to doing it. There's a 400-foot limit, altitude limit. So
with the recreational use,
even on a commercial side, I'm limited to 400 feet. It is waivable for me, but I'd have to give reasons and essentially tell them how I can do it safely.
How do you know if you're at 400 feet?
Your controller will tell you. They got a little barometer in the drone, and it'll give you a relative height. So I mean, it might be off a couple of percent here and there, but it'll more or less.
So an officer from environmental protection could come over and look at your controller, and if it says 450 feet, they could tell you to bring it down.
Yeah, I mean,
if they would, I mean, that's probably a long shot.
Yeah, and the other trouble with all this still being relatively new, I mean, we're going on 7 years now, so people are getting more educated, but a lot of police officers really aren't educated in this. It has gotten a lot better with public safety departments, police departments, fire departments getting more involved in the drone end and getting their own equipment, because now they have to learn the rules of the road to use that equipment. So if you happen to get one of the guys that are involved in that end, they have a much better understanding of the regulations.
Gotcha.
The next one's should be common sense, but again, today's world, sometimes that
goes.
You can't fly in controlled airspace, so in and around airports. So makes sense. You wouldn't want to be buzzing your drone on the tarmac of TF Green, but it happens.
Are you serious?
There was an individual, and this is what's the airport in Vegas? McCarran?
I don't know. I've never been to Vegas.
Neither have I.
Vegas Airport.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's McCarran. So Vegas Airport. This individual was taking pictures of the strip. It's the airport right next to the Vegas Strip. So he's taking pictures of landmarks and whatever, and his drone had some type of malfunction where he lost connection, so he had a lost link, and that drone flew away on him. Guess where it picked to land?
At the airport.
Right on the tarmac. So that aircraft was subsequently recovered. The whole time it was flying, it was recording images because he was recording a video.
Yeah.
So the FAA took possession of the drone. They watched the video, and he was cited on everything that they were able to find on that video, flying over people, over major roadways, flying onto the airport, landing on the airport, flying in controlled airspace. They hit him with a slew of stuff. They were able to track down the drone to the individual, and he was fined about $15,000.
Are you serious?
Yes, it was a pretty hefty. And
was it a mistake?
It was a mistake, but at the same token, I mean, the first mistake was flying where he shouldn't have.
Well, how far was he from the airport?
It's within.
Oh, he was
like a quarter mile. I mean, he was knocking on their door to begin with, and it just happened that probably because of being so close to the airport and the software essentially forcing a landing, that's why when it gained GPS, it set down on the airport.
So the drone really doesn't know. It just says, okay, this is where I got to go, and it gets put down.
Yep. Once it realized it was in a spot it wasn't supposed to be, it forced a landing, and it just so happened it was right on a tarmac. Bad day for him.
He probably, I would imagine he really didn't have to pay that fine.
Last news story I saw on it, with late fees and all that, it's now up to about $20,000, and essentially it's going to get garnished out of his federal tax returns and all that jazz for however many years it takes at this point. He did have the opportunity to appeal it,
and he didn't.
He ignored all the letters. Oh, this is just going to go away. It didn't go away.
No,
so at this point, he lost the appeal opportunities, and it went past all that, and he's on the hook for it now.
Well, that was just stupid.
Yeah.
That was just stupid.
There was a whole lot of stupid decisions that led to where he is now. So, obviously, you can't fly in and around airports. Again, that should be common sense, but
who's to say?
Exactly.
We know how common sense goes. Sometimes it's not there.
On the same line as that, you can't fly around other aircraft. So we need to yield right away to other aircraft. Recreational users cannot fly over groups of people on public events, stadiums full of people. Even on the commercial side, I can't fly directly over people.
So I can't bring my drone into Fenway.
No, they frown on bringing the drone into Fenway. It's not a good look.
Get some good pictures.
That is true. Another big one. A recreational user cannot fly near emergencies such as accidents, law enforcement response, fire department responses, stuff like that, firefighting, disaster recovery efforts. They don't want other drones flying around that area. The big reason there is I'm also a volunteer firefighter. We could be here doing other things. Accident scene, you could have a medical helicopter flying in to perform response and rescue operations for the individual in the crash.
Exactly. Yep.
Firefighting efforts, wildfires, stuff like that. You could have not so much out here, but out west, you could have airdrops coming in of water. Out here, you may have the Volantown Fire Department runs a drone program as well. I may be with that drone up in the air. So the last thing I want to do is run into a $30 Walmart special and end up crashing a $20,000 drone because someone was where they shouldn't be.
Pam says, "Hey, Ryan, the drone man. Nice to see you."
Good morning.
By the way, if anybody has any questions for Ryan, pop him in the room here.
Definitely.
And, Ryan is also following along with the chat as well, so he can see. But I've noticed that the chat is really quiet today. Do you have anything?
No, I just have Pam.
Yeah, which is odd. Usually there's the room gets you've been in there.
Yeah,
it gets filled up pretty quick.
Might be a little early.
It might be, yeah, because now is about when the time where people
they're still rolling out of bed. They're getting their morning coffee at work, and they haven't settled into their desk yet. As Mike with his coffee.
That's it. So, what about these little mini drones. You can you can get them at Walmart. You can get them online on Amazon.
So the only thing exempt from those is, like we mentioned, the weight limit earlier, the 0.55 pounds or 250 grams.
Yeah.
If it's below that, it doesn't have to be registered. Other than that, the same rules of the road are still going to apply. You still should have taken the trust, gotten that trust certification. You still can't fly them around airports. Still yielding to manned aircraft. All those other rules of the road.
Well, let's say these little drones have cameras as well.
Yep.
Right. Okay. So let's say that somebody goes on. I don't even know what spends $50 or $100 for one of these little guys, and they don't know how much they cost. So they do that, and they have no common sense whatsoever, and they just figure, oh, this is fun. I can go anywhere I want to, and they do because they figure they want to get some footage of maybe an airplane taking off or whatever, but they have no idea. But they didn't have to get any certification either.
They didn't.
So what happens if they get caught?
If they get caught, they could be in the same realm as our friend in Vegas who was caught essentially more or less doing the same thing, flying around the airport, and he is now facing upwards of $20,000 in fines for the flight.
But then let's say it's me.
Yep.
I mean, I don't own a drone, but I'm just saying, let's say, what if I looked at, and I go, well, I didn't know.
He kind of used that excuse too, and it didn't quite fly. At the same token,
but I'm talking about one that doesn't have to be registered.
The same rules of the road apply. If they can track it down to you, or a lot of anti-counter drone technology has come out now where they can track on different drones in different areas. So airports are starting to invest in that, where now they can pinpoint where that drone is, but not only where the drone is, but the control station. So they can bring it right down to the guy on the controller.
So they can send out a laser attack.
Not so much laser attack, but a guy in a Crown Victoria who's going to want to have a conversation with you.
Do they still drive?
No, probably not.
Have you seen some of the people driving those Crown Vics, the older ones? They
obviously not a cop.
Obviously not a cop. They've got the light still on the side of the window. They got the sleeves cut off on a t-shirt. And they're going like this.
They just want to feel what it's like to sit in the front seat of one of those.
I don't know. Those cars just why? Like, hey, what's going on? I can't see that.
No.
Again, if anybody has any questions, drop them in. Let's see. All right, Court.
On the recreational side, that really covers it from the FAA side of things.
Now, let's jump into a question. Good morning,
Perfect.
Court. I'm going to read it out loud, even though you can see it. Is there a minimum height drones may fly over private property? We have had drones flying over our animals and buildings.
So, to answer your question, no, there is no minimum height flying over private property. It really comes down to more of an ethical question now. Why are they there? What are they doing? Should they be there? I mean, they may have a legitimate reason. I've taken a bunch of real estate photography over the course of 7 years, and there are times that I may be at 50, 75 feet over a neighbor's house, pointing a camera at the neighbor next door, trying to get the angle, the shot I need. I'll gladly talk to the individual if someone comes outside, show them what I'm doing, have that conversation, and be more or less an ambassador of drones at that point, and try to quell their fears. But there is no minimum height requirement. So the examples that I've kind of been exposed to over the course of the past couple of years is think of photography from a public street. So a news crew, anybody can walk outside here on the side of Main Street in Jewett City and take pictures of somebody walking down the road because the street and the sidewalks are considered public domain. Well, there's been court cases that has said the same thing for airspace. So the air above your house is considered public domain. It's no different in the eyes of the law. It's no different from a helicopter flying over your house to a 747 or a drone. Now, I get it. Ethically, do I want somebody flying a drone below the tree line, taking pictures of me while I'm sitting by my swimming pool? No, probably not. I don't know why they would want to do that with me.
So let's just go there. There was we had a comment at one time where a person was I don't know even how we got into the subject, but apparently there was a drone flying above their property.
Okay.
And they were not pleased about it. And they had mentioned that they were going to shoot it down or something like that. So I don't want to misquote. I remember you had said to me, he goes, well, the first thing is they're probably, of course, not even looking at those people. They're probably fixated on a house like a quarter mile down the road getting pictures of something.
Yeah, that's probably completely accurate. Depending on, I talked to this individual prior to coming on here who had that complaint. And
but I can understand them being like, hey, this is like anybody can invade my privacy now.
And in her case, they were probably looking at her. That drone was, like when I talked about a drone below the tree line, it was low enough where she probably could have hit it with a basketball. So
really? From the description, that's a little ridiculous.
So it really comes into as far as the FAA is concerned, there's no minimum height or anything like that. Now, she also described her property as being a couple hundred feet off the roadway, surrounded by trees, hundreds of feet away from her neighbors. So one of the requirements for not only the commercial side for me, but for the recreational side is line of sight. They need to have that drone within their sight at all times. So if they are below the tree line, unless they're standing in their backyard while they're taking pictures or looking at said individual, they're breaking the law.
Gotcha.
That should not be happening. By the letter of the law, the regulation wise, they're already busting the regulation. So right off the bat, they're breaking the rules. Now we get into the ethical side of things. Yeah, not my ethics alarms going off at that point. There also could be, depending on circumstances or whatnot, there's state laws that could apply. Harassment laws could apply if it happens all the time or continues to happen. Voyeurism laws, spying laws. I mean, there's a whole bunch of state slew of things, and I'm not a lawyer, so I'm not going to get into what potentially could be charged with. I'm very familiar with the FAA side of things and how to do it right. So even though there's not a minimum height requirement for that drone, if that individual has nefarious purposes or you think they will or do, call the police.
Gotcha.
Have that conversation, at least start the paper trail, because if it turns into a ongoing problem, now you have something to fall back on, and you can prove, the police officer could possibly prove intent and harassment and all that other stuff to possibly bring state charges.
Victoria says, hello, Ryan and Mike. Hello, Victoria.
Hello.
So, I just had a question too that I was gonna. Oh,
yep.
I have heard of situations where, and I want to know the probability and the possibility of this actually happening, of drones going rogue, where all of a sudden, I don't know, they lose contact or something like that,
like
with
the Terminator.
The Terminator, and then they just, you can't find your drone. It just took off somewhere. I don't know. Does that happen, or is that just a bunch of BS?
It happened a lot with the early stuff. It can happen with today's drones. So when you first turn on your drone and go to fly it, it's going to connect the GPS, and it's going to get a good solid GPS fix of where it is.
Yep.
And it's going to call that home. So early on with that type of technology, if it didn't get that GPS fix and it remembered last time, and you get it up in the air,
that's where it's going to go.
It may at least try. I mean, if it was 30 miles away, it's not going to make it.
Will it go that far?
No.
Okay.
No. I'm not really sure the range, but limited by line of sight, you can't really test the range side of things.
Gotcha.
But in that case, it may have, the early ones would try to find that home point, go back to that home point, and essentially, in that case, it would be a flyaway where it would just go. It does happen from time to time. They call it lost link or type scenarios.
But not as much now.
Not as much now.
Okay. I could see that. I mean, technology is going to increase.
Yeah, definitely.
Things are going to change.
Come a long way in the 6-7 years I've played with them. So
yeah, I bet. I think they're really cool. I don't know. I would end up just crashing it into a side of a building.
they actually now have just like your car, the backup sensors that tell you when you get close to stuff.
Yeah.
The newer ones have that on the drones too.
Oh no, but I'm assuming that this is a drone that's worth a dime. We're not talking
Oh,
about
you're going to
the
destroy
Walmart
that one.
sharper
Yeah,
image.
no, it's gone.
Right. Okay.
No doubt.
Okay.
Millions of pieces on the side of the building.
In the middle of a river. How much does I guess it would depend on what you're doing with it. So like a good personal drone that you're just gonna play with. I mean, what would you look at spending for something like that?
Probably $500 to $1,000.
All right. And what about like something like what you do?
It depends
Yeah.
on, is it the photographer or the drone taking the picture? I could take a really cheap drone and take a halfway decent picture.
Okay.
You can get by to start off with
The $1,000 drone.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. And you just got to really leverage on your photography skills and framing the shot and all the other photography theory
Are these
side of things.
are these all consumer products, or do you have to? Are there drones that you need a license to actually purchase them, or can you just go out and buy any drone you want?
So, in the consumer world, the stuff that you and I are going to run into,
Mhm.
we can basically go out and buy whatever you want. Anything over 55 pounds falls out of what the FAA is considered a small unmanned aerial system, UAS, and that would involve exemptions and like actual pilot's license and stuff like that.
Okay.
But you and I probably aren't going to go out and buy the Air Force's Predator drone and stuff like that.
No.
No.
I don't even want to know how much that would be. That would be scary money.
It'd be fun though.
Yeah. Well, so how much did you spend on your drone? The one you currently use now?
The one I
You have a
currently
couple,
use now,
don't you?
yeah, I got a couple. The one I currently use is, I want to say about 2,000 or so, 25. I think it was about 2,600 when I bought it new.
So what's the difference between that and one that say $1,000 that you can buy online on Amazon?
Camera technology.
Oh, really? So
Yeah.
it's just okay.
It's
No,
just
so it's
a-
not the flying capability or anything like that.
Some of them
Battery
can
life?
be. Battery life may improve, but really, when I'm buying, I'm looking at the camera technology. I'm looking at how many megapixels the picture is, whether or not I have the ability to adjust the shutter and all aperture and all that jazz.
Gotcha. So let's say that let's go back into like the voyeurism kind of thing. And somebody's flying over somebody's property. When is it legal, if at all, where you can actually take a rock, try to nail it, or a BB gun or something like that, and try to knock it out of the air?
Oh, you start playing in the realm of BB gun, that's where it's getting sketchy. But if you
Okay.
happen to throw your tennis ball for your dog to catch it, and there happen to be a drone between that dog, get where I'm going with that?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
Then
that's the way it is, right?
yeah. Now, depending on why they're there or what it is and whatnot, you still may have some civil problems, and should they be able to prove it was you and the intent,
Right,
this,
right.
that, and the other, you may be on the hook civilly for replacement of equipment or something like that. But at the same time, I don't think I'd ever be in that situation because I'm doing stuff right. But at the same token, I could be taking picture of the neighbor's house and just getting that angle and not even know someone's in the backyard. And so yeah, it could go either way. You never know. I could be on the receiving end of that.
So let's talk about something else, like as far as the drone photography is concerned. And I've seen a lot of the stuff that you've taken, like real estate pictures and stuff, and they're really good. What about live footage? Now, I know you can take live footage and replay it, but can you take live footage and play it live?
Live. You used to be able to. Now, I haven't tried to do it in a while, but so I'm not 100% on this answer. I know the ability was there to do it in years past, but then they had, and I forget the what it was. They had the individual, I want to say somewhere overseas, that live streamed him going through, I think it was a mosque, killing a bunch of people. After that had happened and all that was live streamed, I believe the ability was taken away from the apps for to live stream your drone flight. At least with the DJI products. I could be wrong. Like I said, it's not something I've done and typically do is live stream my stuff, so I haven't tried to do it in years.
Not in the scope of your business.
Yeah, anyway, exactly. So. Yeah. But that being said, there's other ways to do it too. I could take an HDMI out of my controller and tie it into
Well, see, I didn't
another
know
platform. And
I didn't know like news organizations did that.
Yes, they do, but they're going to do it through what I just said with an HDMI out to some type of broadcasting platform. Yeah.
So that's allowed.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's actually fairly common. News organizations are using them every day on live streaming stuff. I mean, NBC 30 just the other day saw them flying over in Old Saybrook doing a live stream of the sunrise over the boats and all that stuff, picturesque stuff.
How cool would that be to do a football game with drone footage?
That'd be neat. We'll talk.
Okay. That would be, because I don't know anybody that does that around here. How flipping cool would that be?
Aerial coverage provided by Eagle Eye LLC.
Wouldn't that be something that would be really awesome?
Yeah. So legally, even on a commercial end, I can't overfly people, but at the same time, as long as I'm not overflying the stands and I'm over the trees, like thinking Griswold Stadium over there, Griswold football field, over the trees in the back, I can easily capture some aerial footage.
So what's the difference between, say, a drone and then live footage provided by the Goodyear blimp?
Size. And people. There's people in that one.
Okay. Oh, okay. So it's not unmanned.
Not unmanned. Yep.
Got it. Okay. Victoria says, I had my balls all lined up yesterday. That's private, but it was very windy, so no visitors. So in other words, there was maybe if a drone showed up at her house, she was ready to go pew, 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 and I would, if that was happening at my house, I would want to know who the hell was.
So,
or if anything, I would be like looking around, going out to the road or something to say, what's going on here.
So, and speaking with the technology that we have nowadays with the drones, especially if it's down below the tree line like that, it's your neighbor. It's someone close by. Guarantee it's someone close by, because those radio transmitters, they can get out pretty far, but they need that clear line of sight to do that. So if they're operating below the tree line,
is it an FM signal? Because FM's all line of sight.
It's
2.4, 5.8, or
yes, yep. So it's like 2.4 or 5.8. It's in that frequency range.
2.4 would probably be the best one, because that will actually travel further.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of people have 5.8, and 2.4 in their house.
Yep.
5.8 is basically, lower latency.
Gotcha.
You'll get faster speeds in a smaller area, or 2.4 will go through walls.
Gotcha. But in the case of that, if they're acting nefariously and flying below the tree line and stuff like that, they're close.
Yeah.
No doubt in my mind, they're close. Next door neighbor, 2 houses down. It's definitely somebody close by.
So what do you do in that point? So let's say there's a drone, like just kind of in your backyard. Is your first line of, or your first action to call the police?
Honestly, my first action would be, I also have a fairly open area. I can take a look around and look up the street, see if there's someone with a controller giggling or something like that, and kind of have a conversation. I know my neighbors fairly well, so I know who has what. But have a conversation with your neighbor if you're willing to speak with them, because chances are, yes, there is that one-off scenario where they may have been doing something nefarious, and they may below the tree line. I can't argue with that. That's probably obvious. Somebody doing something unethical.
Gotcha. Laura, good morning.
Good morning, Laura.
Says camping in Maine, and the campground was using a drone to patrol the grounds. Now, that's private property.
Yep.
Is that something that's just okay?
So as long as they, even regardless of being on private property, they still have to follow the FAA regulations. So they still have to maintain that line of sight. So wherever they're controlling that drone from, and I can't speak to that campground or what they were doing,
Sure,
but they'd have to maintain line of sight on that aircraft.
So it still could happen.
It could happen.
Yeah.
I know a lot of police departments are using these things now. Locally, I can't.
You don't need. Yeah, you don't need to go.
But locally, I know of at least 2 on using them. They have to follow the same rules that you and I do.
Sure.
With them, there is for public safety agencies ways and avenues to get waivers for some of the regulations, but we have to prove we can do it safely, and it has to be an emergent need, some type of emergency.
So you have to be able to prove
Yep.
that this is why you're
Yes.
doing this. Okay.
So, for example, while we're on that topic, there was a brush fire 2 weeks or so ago by Beach Pond in Voluntown. I also managed the.
I was just gonna say.
Yeah, we'll segue into that now. I managed the drone program for the Voluntown Fire Department. I'm one of their pilots. We started that program in, I want to say it was 2018. We have some pretty nice equipment with it, thermal imaging, a zoom camera where we can set ourselves off from whatever we're looking at and zoom in and read a placard on the side of a truck for hazmat situations, or look at thermal plumes and figure out where a fire is in a building, and just looking at the heat on the outside of a building, or locating hot spots in a brush fire.
Yeah. So no, that's not a nefarious situation. That
Absolutely
is-
not.
Yeah.
That's public good, public need,
public safety.
public safety.
Yep.
In that case, for that particular fire, all we had was a caller that said they can see a header, and they had called in across the pond from Bennett Road.
Mhm.
So we went out there, responded to the boat launch area, and it looks just like a normal summer day from the boat launch. nothing found.
And then the drone goes up.
We launched the drone, and clear as day, about 3/4 of a mile away, there was a heck of a plume, and we were able to get the drone in the somewhat vicinity of it. But just like you and I'm limited to 400 feet. At 400 feet with the tree line, I was losing the drone when I was trying to fly out to see it. So I couldn't actually get over the fire at that point. We knew where it was. We knew the direction it was. We can start sending crews out there. There's an avenue for a public safety agency to get waivers for certain regulations. So I had to fill out some quick paperwork on who it was, the agency requesting, my pilot information, all that jazz, and then called a special operations center in Washington, D.C. And within 15 minutes, they approved us for 800 feet.
Oh, okay.
So we were able to double our allowable altitude, and they work with Providence TF Green approach, where air traffic control knew we were there at 800 feet with that drone. So anything coming in and out, they were diverting. Granted, 800 feet in Voluntown, no aircraft probably wouldn't be at that altitude,
Right.
but if something were, they would divert them around our area.
American Airlines is flying pretty low.
Yeah, that's a problem. That's our next emergency.
Yeah, you don't need a drone to find that
No.
one out. You see, this is
But doubling our altitude, that allowed us to get overhead of the fire, see what's going on, use the thermal on it to see how big it was, where the hot spots were, and we were able to do it right from the boat launch and maintain line of sight on that drone and be able to see it all, just because we're able to raise that ceiling.
Gotcha.
So,
were you able to get trucks and everything down there to?
Ish. It was mostly UTVs and getting into the general area and people on foot working.
Yeah, that's going to be hard.
Yeah.
That's going to be hard. What is the the strangest thing you've ever encountered with your drone?
Strangest thing.
Have you ever had a strange kind of thing? Anybody report you for being a UFO? Or...
No, well, dwelling in Voluntown, that Facebook group.
Yeah, I see.
I fly over my house sometimes, and I got people on Main Street. There's a weird flashing light up the road. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it was a UFO sighting, but yeah, people see it.
You sure that wasn't on Grizzled Now?
Probably was.
Or Lisbon Now, or Plainfield Residents, or any of those kooky, fun and entertaining.
Gotta put a siren on it. Where's the sirens going?
Oh, that would be funny.
It would be.
Do they have lights? I mean, do they have like flashing lights or anything like that if you fly them at night?
So the lights on it, the manufacturer lights that come with it, do not meet the FAA requirements for anti-collision lighting. So yes, on the commercial side, if I'm flying them at night, I have add-on lighting that I put on it, strobes that I put on it that can be seen over 3 miles away that would meet the requirements for anti-collision.
Does that hurt the photography?
No.
Okay, so it's all right. So the glare is going to.
Yep.
Okay.
The glare is going in another direction, and the bulk of it is one big white strobe on the very top. So let's face it, an aircraft shouldn't be flying under you at 400 feet. They should be above you, and that will give 360 viewing, so they'll be able to see.
So how do you find the time? I mean, with your regular full-time job and doing stuff with the fire department and doing stuff on your own business. I mean, your schedule must be pretty packed.
What time?
Yeah, there you go. I kind of figured. It's got to be pretty tough.
Yeah, I do well juggling it. So
you learn time management quick. Huh?
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So strangest thing. What do you feel has been the most rewarding thing that you've done? Because obviously you use this for, like personal and some business and stuff like that. I mean, people are buying these, of course, for just recreation.
Yep.
Like, what would you say to somebody that is looking for a drone and say, well, this is the coolest thing that happened to me, and this is one of the reasons why I like doing it personally instead of as a business? Because it does seem like a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it's definitely fun. On the enjoyment side of things, honestly, I enjoy the public safety avenue the most. We're actually, the word's starting to get out that we have the equipment now, so we're getting busier on the fire department side with that. We went to Thompson from Voluntown all the way to Thompson this past weekend to assist with a brush fire they had, with sizing it up and figuring out where it was and all that jazz. I enjoy that aspect of it, that avenue of it, between searching for hikers, search and rescue type scenarios.
So you even participate in that with the fire department? Yep. Okay, so I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. So I mean, any emergency call that we go to, that this is another tool in the toolbox that could potentially assist us, we'll use it.
Gotcha.
Yeah, definitely. So from emergency responses to lost hikers to injured parties in the woods, or on any of the structure fires, hazmat type situations where one of the cameras I have on it has a zoom capability of 30 times optical zoom. So I can zoom in and read a license plate from a quarter mile away.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I enjoy that aspect of it, helping the greater good and utilizing drones for good. Because let's face it, as Victoria mentioned last week too, and the issues she's had with neighbors, a lot of people use drones for bad. Mm-hmm. So I enjoy the other side of it, where we can kind of get it more in a better light.
Did you get some good pictures of Victoria while you were up there?
No, I didn't, unfortunately.
See, Victoria.
Camera broke.
See, Victoria. They didn't even get any good pictures, for crying out loud. Be on corgi.com. She has corgis. So.
Gotcha.
Here's the owner sunbathing. I've never even seen Victoria, so I don't know.
Never met her.
Never met her myself personally. She goes, very funny. Yeah. So actually, I had asked Victoria last week if she would like to come in and co-host some mornings. So I'm just putting it out there. She sent me a message this morning saying,
yep,
I think I can do this. I'm thinking,
there you go.
I know you can do this. I can just tell by,
yep.
So I
definitely.
I think you'd have fun. We'll talk.
Mike's recruiting.
Well, no, you want to get, as many people as, that are in the community from different communities, because everybody has a different take on things.
Definitely. I was going to say different faces, but this is radio, so
well,
different voices.
Kind of,
true.
There's your face right there.
Yep.
Is there anything that we didn't cover that you want to mention about drone piloting or rules and regs or do's and don'ts?
So one thing I do want to cover is, and going off of the conversation that was going on in Sterling residence last week,
Gotcha.
Where the individual was outside on drone below the tree line. You had just about every gun-toting, warm-blooded American running out there saying, I'm going to shoot it down.
Yosemite Sam!
Exactly.
Pop, pop,
Now,
pop, pop.
I'll be honest with you. I love my guns. I love my privacy as well.
Yep.
But what we kind of got to understand is going down that road is going to open a can of worms that people probably don't want to kick that bee's nest. Example I have here is Florida man, and it's always the Florida man, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Florida man, 51-year-old Wendell Doyle Goonie.
He's one of the Goonies.
He's one of the Goonies. This is so it's fairly recent, from October 13th of 21. Was charged, was indicted for illegal firearm possession and destruction of aircraft. Now, this particular case, he was, sheriff's office responded to a burglary at a 10-acre business property, and the sheriff's department at that point deployed their drone in the course of the investigation. I don't know if they were actively tracking someone or with that burglary, or what the circumstances were in that point, but there was a neighbor that took out his .22, capped off a couple rounds, and shot down the aircraft. It went in front of a grand jury, and they indicted him.
It's funny, not funny. You know what I mean?
Yeah. They indicted him for destruction of an aircraft. So as far as the FAA is concerned, the rules and regulations are concerned, the law calls a drone an aircraft. So they hit him with essentially the same statute that you would be hit with if you shot down a Cessna flying out of an airport. So he is now facing up to 30 years in federal prison. Now,
wow.
Yeah.
That's a little harsh.
Now, he's also had been a prior convicted felon, shouldn't have guns to begin with. So,
well, that's different. Yeah.
But the charge for that destruction of aircraft is up to 30 years. Now, that particular aircraft was also a sheriff's department aircraft. So the
plot thickens.
The plot thickens.
Yeah,
so that was it wasn't my business drone. It wasn't Mike's personal drone. This was a public safety asset that was flying around. And that's the thing I really want to mention here is depending on the drone, I mean, it's police departments that are using them now. There's fire departments that are using them now. Yeah. The one we use in the fire department is very expensive. If there's something going on where we have that deployed, and Cletus comes outside with his shotgun and starts shooting up in the air, that's probably going to be the scenario where there may be some repercussions and some charges pending for that. And as you know, in the state of Connecticut, state is not very gun friendly. So you start toting a gun around, shooting it up in the air. If you like your gun rights,
Cletus
probably not going to have them much longer if you start doing stuff like that.
So Cletus is pissed right now.
Yeah, he definitely is. But just something to think about. There are other ways on hoping cooler heads prevail. On if it's definitely a situation where you feel something is not right, call the police, but don't take out a firearm and start shooting in the air.
All right, Court. Good morning again. He says, I understand the many great uses for drones used for business and public service. I find the personal use over my property to be invasive and offensive. I would not go on someone's property to look around. I expect the same courtesy. I don't mind photographers from the road. Helicopters and planes have ID.
Court, that I can actually help you with that and piggyback into something else. You mentioned towards the end of that, helicopters and planes have ID. So the FAA just came out with a means of compliance for what's called remote ID. This happened last week. This is a regulation that was put through, I think we're going on 2 years now. The means of compliance had to happen first because that's now the instruction to all the manufacturers on how they're going to meet the requirements of this new law.
Mm-hmm.
This new law is called remote ID. So when this rolls out, and again, I don't have the time frame. Now they have the means to do it, so the manufacturers are going to start rolling this out. And I know there was a statutory timeline when it was supposed to be done by. Forgive me, I don't remember those dates. I want to say it's within the next year and a half, 2 years. But new drones coming out are going to have what's called remote ID, and there'll be ways to you as an individual. I believe, and I haven't read the means of compliance, but what I know about it from previously, they had wanted to be able to use like a cell phone app to be able to look around and essentially identify a drone, like what you can do with your cell phone app now and see what airplane is what.
Yeah.
If you move it around, that's what remote ID is. The thought behind remote ID.
I was thinking it would be like an ESN number on a cell phone.
Exactly.
Where
now
every phone is, has a unique
correct.
ID.
Essentially, it's going to be a license plate for a drone in the air. Now, you as I'll call you the end user,
Sure.
Whatever, you're not going to be able to essentially identify who that is with that number, but that's now a piece of the puzzle that you take that information, you get law enforcement involved, they can now know right from that number who this is and have the conversation with the individual. And let's face it, the cops start knocking on your door because you keep overflying your neighbor's house with a drone. Even if there's no ill intent, chances are you're going to avoid that neighbor now, right? And you would think you'd avoid flying over that neighbor's house. So that's coming. It hasn't happened yet, but the means of compliance just rolled out last week. So down the road in the next couple of years, any drone that does come out will have that, and there's no grandfather clause either. So any drone that is out there currently would have to have an add-on module added to that. So the stuff I use for the business or the fire department drone, we're going to have to, if a firmware update wouldn't fix it, we'd have to add another module to it to allow for that.
Actual piece of hardware.
Yep, exactly. So, Court, that is coming, and that's going to at least help you identify individuals who may be doing nefarious things. This is something that a lot of people are against it. Honestly, I don't mind because I'm doing things right. So I'll gladly have a conversation with a law enforcement officer or the FAA or whomever and explain to them what I was doing, because I know I do things right. And even though, I'll just pick on Courtney for a minute, even though I was flying over Courtney's property, or it appeared that way, I was actually working for a realtor next door, and I had to set back a couple 100 feet to get a good outline of her neighbor's house or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. So just because I was there, I did have a reason for being there, and I wasn't actually looking at your stuff. So I'm
kind of like what you said earlier. It's like if somebody's above your house, it's probably not. They're probably not looking at you. They're probably looking at like a house or something like that. They're trying to get a good photo on about a quarter mile away.
And the other thing too is that they're not quiet.
Oh yeah, you can hear them.
Yeah, well, you can definitely hear them. So imagine a herd of angry wasps carrying red and green strobes sitting outside your window. Like, it's not really going to do a good job of sneaking up on you and doing anything nefarious. You definitely hear them coming. You'll know it's there.
So last question I want to ask, and this is really just kind of like a silly question, but I know people at the beginning, when they started getting really popular, bought drones, and for example, Al Gear bought one.
Okay.
All right. So he was having a cookout, and it was kind of funny because he actually flew it across the river. Well, I mean, just where the waterfall is.
Okay.
Over Veterans Memorial Park.
Yep.
And over towards my house, and he goes, "Hey, look," and he's sending me pictures and stuff like that. So he wasn't being creepy or nothing like that. He was like, "Ha ha." But
some people don't find that funny.
Oh, no. It wasn't anything like that.
Yeah.
Well, but true. Some people don't, but I thought it was. I told him, I said, send me a sandwich if you're going to do this. Attach it and send it over.
And a beer.
He ended up right into a tree. So,
Oops.
yeah, and I've heard people dropping them in the river and just have they started to idiot proof? Sorry, I don't mean Al's an idiot or nothing like that because he's not.
To some extent, yes.
I'm just using that as a term.
To some extent, yes. They do have sensors around them, so maybe it has forward-facing obstacle avoidance or rear-facing or left or right or only front, only back. I mean, depending on what it is. They have added that kind of stuff on. But to completely idiot-proof them, the main... You want it to be completely idiot-proof, to be honest with you, line of sight is your best friend.
Okay.
If you can see it at all times, which by law you should have it in your eyesight at all times.
And practice.
Yep, and practice.
Don't just go, let's see how far I can go.
Yep.
Practice with it. Okay.
And while we're talking line of sight, it's not so much only that you can see it, but the FAA defines line of sight as the ability to not only see it, but also know its orientation and its movement. So I can see it, but I need to be able to tell by looking at it which way it's facing too.
Got it.
So some of these drones, real small, bigger, or whatever, your line of sight, even though you can see it 100 feet away, can you tell which way it's facing?
No.
So line of sight could be much closer than you'd expect it to be.
Gotcha. All right. We're going to wind things down. Thank you very much for coming by and
No worries.
making the time, to come here. You're a very busy dude, so for you to get here and stuff like that, it's
no worries.
Pretty cool. So thanks.
Glad to come
All
out.
right, Ryan Hargraves from Eagle Eye LLC, and you can find you on Facebook and where else?
EagleEyeLLC.net.
Got it. All right, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, we'll see you tomorrow right here on SNSN.
Don't just wish for a winning deal, make it dish, and we'll make it real. Don't just wish, make it dish.
Hey everyone, this is Ellis Dish from Dish Motors. We're back better than ever with our new sales and service center on Route 32 in North Franklin. Everyone says there's nothing better than dealing with the dishes, and here's why. Selection. We have the area's largest inventory of off-lease, one-owner vehicles of all makes and models. You name it, we got it, or I'll get it for you at no additional charge. Quality. Each vehicle goes through a rigorous 120-point safety and quality check. Nothing leaves the lot without my personal approval. Convenience. We have financing sources for almost any situation. We offer on-site registration